protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's time for Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
You have to have a plan where you know if the market's going to go up, what happens next. And you also have to have a plan where if it doesn't go the way you think, you know what you're going to do.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
I'm not trying to predict the weather, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's predicting the stock market. I'm trying to build a better boat.
This is Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
Welcome to the Money Unleashed podcast, powered by the Hoffman Financial Group. I'm Eric Johnson. Joining me as always is Kyle Allyn. We're the vice presidents of Hoffman Financial Group. You can catch new episodes of the podcast each Friday, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Kyle, what we're going to talk about now is the emotions of retirement. There's a pretty stark contrast between how people feel before they retire and how they feel after retirement, and a lot of it has to do with the fear of the unknown, and that is the fear that people have of leaving their jobs and relying on their money to create income. And that's a very valid fear. It's involving the fear of the unknown. However, when you do have a proper plan put in place and you're in retirement and you are living off of your money, it's mystical how quickly people feel much better and happy in their retirement. So let's talk about some of these emotions people have when they come in here.
Yeah, so the first thing it makes me think about, I heard this term one time that it said anticipatory anxiety.
Oof.
Anticipatory anxiety.
That's kind of like pre-missing my wife when I know she's going on a retreat.
Yeah, so it's this idea that the thing in the future is going to get you. So it kind of makes sense that these statistics exist because before you get to retirement, you're worried about your future.
Yep.
When you're in retirement, it's not your future, it's your present.
Correct.
Right? So you have that clarity, you have that understanding. I think that's what's so powerful in working with an advisor because as an advisor, we're able to come and sit down with the client. So we see a little research on this from Fidelity. As we hit the halfway point of 2025, over 70% of retirees say retirement is going as planned. Confidence in retirement outlook is down among pre-retirees, right? So there's two different groups there. 72% say their retirement is going as planned. 70% say they have saved and planned appropriately. So that makes sense to me, right? The people that are saving and planning appropriately are ending up in retirement saying that they have what they need and it's going as the plan.
Things because they've been doing the proper things properly.
Does that kind of sound like proper planning prevents poor performance?
The 5 Ps? Yes, it does sound like the 5 Ps. And it's real. Let's say that again.
Proper planning prevents poor performance, right?
Yes.
And then we hit that number one more time in that 69% say retirement is more enjoyable. So it turns out that if you feel it's going as planned and you wrote a plan, then you enjoy that plan and that process more.
That is a mystical concept.
It's kind of like, hey, I want to lose weight. And then the trainer says, we're going to the gym early in the morning. We're going to eat our broccoli. We're going to do the right things. And you go, nah, I just want the cookie.
Yeah.
Well, turns out we're human, right? As humans, we want everything. As humans, we're anticipating a future that we think is not going to be positive. I actually was thinking about this on the way to work this morning, which is we always, as Americans, have this major fear that everything's going to collapse. And it made me think about the discussions that were going on over the last 30 days with this idea of World War III, right? So we heard people saying, and I thought about how I'm supposed to approach this on the air, because if you're someone who lost a loved one in the conflict, then, well, it's very hot cognition. It's very real to you.
Yes.
Whereas I think as Americans, we just have this anxiety and this fear of the future, whether it be the retirement or what's going on in the government or what's going on in the market or what's going on in geopolitical issues.
Getting the rug pulled.
And we're just like, man, we're going to get the rug pulled. But if we slow down for a second and we look around, we see a country and a people and a legislation and a world that's playing in a better facet than it has in a very, very long time. So I actually looked this up. The period we're in right now is called the Great Peace. Mm-hmm. Now, once again, if someone you know has passed away, you don't feel peaceful, you don't feel good. But this period, when you think at it in 100-year terms, 300-year terms, well, there's a lot of advancements in medicine. There's a lot of advancements in money. There's a lot of advancements in shelter, right? Where you live. There's a lot of advancements in food. Mm-hmm. So this idea that we live in a world that's extremely detrimental and we're going to fall apart and lose all our money and everything's going to go bad, I just don't see that. And the data shows us that we're just fearful of our future. We're just anxious of something we haven't went through. And it's amazing to me. You would think at 60, you would have enough life memory, enough in the bank to say, oh, I've seen this before where I'm worried about the future and then I get through it.
Yep.
But here's where I think it gets more complex. It's the first time you've had a major change in your money.
Yeah, in a very long
In
time,
a
right?
very long time.
Sometimes 30 or 40 years.
Exactly. So it's this extremely new idea that you're not going to have a paycheck and you're going to live off your money. And so that's where we fit in. We come in to give you the clarity and the confidence to move forward and be one of those 70% that do that, right? So I want to take it a little further.
Okay.
Americans are still in their planning years, right, before they retire, and they're more self-reliant when it comes to their sources of retirement income. Because when you're moving through accumulation, you're getting ready for retirement, you don't really have a lot of income sourcing, so you're self-reliant. You can just get into the marketplace. You can buy things that are growing and continue to add to those positions. So if you look at it, you say, okay, I'm just going to buy a good growth mutual fund. I'm going to do the Dave Ramsey. Or you buy, 15, 20 good tech stocks with some communication servicing stocks in there. And you say, I'm going to ride these out. I'm going to keep dollar cost averaging in. I'm going to add money to the portfolio. But the problem is when you get to retirement and you're in this big change, now you got to send yourself a paycheck.
Yep.
And you're nervous. So as we know from Peter Lynch in the 80s, to be successful in the stock market is to not be scared out of the stock market. Well, all at once, you've got to do this whole new thing, which is distribute income, and you got to not be fearful. So I really, really relate, and that's why we put the company here. We could have managed money for so many different types of people. We could have done so many different types of things in finance, and we said, no, we want to stand in this gap.
Yep.
So if you're working with a team that does all kinds of different things, well, we are a retirement specialist. This is what we do. We stand in this gap and we say, hey, no more. It makes me think of Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings, and you say, you shall not pass.
Oh, boy.
All right? Well,
now we're pulling out the magic wand.
When it comes to fear, we're standing in that gap for you and saying, no more.
That's right.
No more fear. One of the things that I work super hard on, and I have some very intelligent clients that are very analytical. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're CEOs, they're COOs, and they come in and they're like, man, it's going to take me some time to be comfortable and to be clear and to be confident in retirement. And that's what we're doing. We're repeating every quarter what's going on, what's in the plan, what's going on in the portfolio, how that matches with the benchmarks to get you to that place, because that repetition of logic, that understanding of the numbers, you can get there. So that fear that you're thinking, I'm not going to be able to get there, the numbers say you can. But there's an action item that you got to start with, and that's you've got to build a plan.
Yeah, you got to build a plan. And on top of that, another piece of the fear that we're talking about is when you're working for 30 or 40 years, right, for maybe a company or multiple companies, you are used to the typical Wall Street model of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's the old school way of growing portfolios. And there's a lot of different ways to create income for yourself that does not involve those three facets that you're so used to. So another part of the fear is now we've got to look at our portfolio from a different lens of, okay, now I've got to make changes. People are also fearful of making changes, right? So if you want to take your portfolio and have it start generating income to supplement your pensions and Social Securities and any rental incomes you have coming in, that's going to involve making some changes as well, too. And it's going to involve entertaining the idea of some different types of vehicles in order to achieve the income that you're looking for. And a lot of people haven't heard of these types of vehicles or understood these types of vehicles because they may or may not have sat down with a retirement planner. One of the beauties about being a retirement planner, I love what you said about we want to stand in this space and the whole Gandalf thing, you shall not pass.
You like that?
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I don't mind those movies. But it's a great analogy because it's designed to make sure that you don't have to worry anymore, which is why we constantly talk about the 5 Ps. Proper planning prevents poor performance, and you're exactly right. The numbers of Americans who do have a plan feel better about their outcome in retirement than people who don't. So you need to have one of these put together for yourselves so you can have the confidence and the clarity to make sure that the income that you're generating is going to be enough to A, pay taxes, and B, suffice the lifestyle you've created for yourself over the past 30 and 40 years. And it's okay to make changes, guys. Now, we talked about this earlier in the show, but when you set up a proper plan for retirement, there are spaces in this world where you can actually send yourself money, recreate your paycheck, and also still grow it in retirement too. And it blows people's minds. Now, Kyle, you were talking about how a lot of your clients, and I have the same types of clients, they're very analytical about what they have going on, but they also don't know what you have to do in order to set up this plan as well. So there's a fear that's created in this, and they're very intelligent. But that's why it's so important to sit down with a fiduciary advisory, right? So we sit down with people and we actually explain very complex vehicles in a very simple way to show you what the money is supposed to be doing for you. And so when you have a plan and you have an advisory team that can give you the confidence and take the fear away, if you will, be the Gandalf, of your retirement, that's where the power lies with Hoffman Financial Group, right? Because we take people in, we A, show you where you're at. That gives you some confidence. We B, show you where you need to go. That also gives you some confidence. And then C, we show you how to get there. And we do this at no cost, no obligation. But what I think you'll find is that, just like you said, like you might be 60, 65, 70 years old, and you've been through many iterations of not knowing what's going to happen next, but you seem to work through it. This is the last big money decision that you're pretty much going to make before you retire, and it's super important to make the right one. So you have to have all this information in order to achieve the proper goals that you need. So Kyle, what I'd like you to do is I'd like to tell you what it's like for people when they come in for an initial appointment and how we start taking this fear off the plate for them.
That's right. So in the initial appointment, we'll have a cup of coffee. We'll walk through your family, right? So the step one is to understand who you are as an individual, whether you're married or not, whether you're widowed or not, whether you have kids or not. These little basic things are going to start setting up a story and an understanding of your goals and your objectives. Then we're going to move into your income sourcing. Okay, do you have what you need to be able to pay you a yield? If you just put all your money in the American bond market, the AGG, you would get about 4%. Well, if you've got $1 million, is $40,000 enough to supplement what you need?
I would say no.
I would say it's not enough. Here's the exciting news, by the way. For most of our clients, we're able to get them more in yield. So if you want more in income, we can get that done. And we can understand those numbers. So the next thing we do is we go through the portfolio to understand, okay, what's going on? And we're going to do that in the first meeting. So when you first sit down with us, we're going to be able to have the custom conversation about your family, and we'll be able to go through the portfolio x-ray to understand where you are. If you choose, we'll move into a place in the next meeting where we set up a full retirement plan and we walk you through understanding what this could look like over time. But the point is, that first meeting gives you the clarity and the confidence to move forward with at least an understanding of your goal and where you are. We talk about it often. That portfolio x-ray is going to give you some understanding of the investments, and this comes at no cost. So this is something you can do. You can sit down with one of our competent advisors. Heck, you can maybe even sit down with Eric or myself, and we'll walk through that with you. And then that will begin the conversation of setting up the full financial plan, of which we're willing to tackle that as well.
That's right. Let's get your plan started today at no cost, no obligation. Let's figure out where you are on the map of retirement. Now let's figure out how to complete this journey to a successful retirement so you and your family can have the money and the security that you're looking for the rest of your life. Give us a call, 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or you can hop online and find us at unleashyourmoney.com.
Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.